Welcome to the channel, guys. We are back for another fragrance review, and today I'm going to be talking about Interlude 53 by Amouage. So stay tuned for that. If you like fragrance reviews, top 10 lists, cologne comparisons, and first impressions, hit that subscribe button for more great content. So Amouage is a brand that is quite popular. They do have a lot of really good fragrances in my opinion. And it wasn't until recently that they started releasing flankers. And I gotta admit, Interlude 53, I do like Interlude Man, which I'll talk about a little bit. But it's the second flanker for this fragrance. So there's also Black Iris, and then there's this Interlude 53. Felt like a little bit much, but they do have a lot of really good new releases as well. But anyways, I am just going to get right into the fragrance. This is a 53% concentration of the original Interlude Man. I'm not entirely sure why 53%. I'm not sure what that extra 3% does or whatever the case may be, but it is 53% perfume oil. And, based on the original Interlude Man, I was expecting this one to be outrageous, absolutely crazy, super intense, because it is so much of a higher concentration of the perfume oils that seem to me, seem to be reasonable to sort of think that. Very surprised to find out quite the opposite. Now, not saying this one isn't strong, it is, but I actually find this one to be very smooth. So the original Interlude Man is, it's not harsh, but it is very niche. It reminds me a lot of like a Gothic church or something. And if you travel around Europe, there's a lot of different churches you can go into, especially older ones. And this kind of has this smoky vibe that really makes me think of those places, especially like, maybe the priest walking along with, I don't know what they're called, but it's like smoke burning out of them. Definitely does remind me of a lot of that kind of a vibe. Now, this one does have a smokiness in the opening, but in the opening, I get a lot of sort of a gummy sweetness. It's very lightly sweet. I get a little hint of the spice, but it doesn't come off especially spicy, and there is a really, really strong creaminess. So to me, this is very much sweet, slightly sweet amber, with a hint of spice, and I do get a little bit of that oud and the sandalwood. Even right off the opening, the oud just gives it a little hint of a bit of a woody vibe. Now, when it comes to the smokiness, so yes, this is a smoky fragrance, but honestly, to me, the original Interlude, there's that smokiness is very center stage, and I do find that this one, as it's transitioning from the opening into the mid and throughout the mid, there is quite an intense smokiness, but it is also in some ways toned down by the fact that there is that that sort of robust amber and creamy vibe that goes along with it. And it is quite smoky. It does come off a little bit more, like I do get a little bit of the incense vibe and a little bit of that smoke vibe. But it's not super crazy. To me, that was the strongest part. It was a very dry, smoky fragrance in the original. Not so much for this. Okay, so this is much fuller, much more robust. And in a lot of ways, it's much easier to digest, which is not what I was expecting. I thought this was going to be, even further out on the edge, even more niche, where, the original Interlude Man was, not unpleasant, but you could call it challenging, because I feel like, especially if you want it to be something that was appropriate, it's a very situational fragrance. This one is definitely much more wearable of the two, which I found very surprising. Now, I also heard the same thing about Black Iris. Unfortunately, I haven't smelled Black Iris, so I can't really do a comparison of the two to really talk about any kinds of differences that they may have. But this one, it is much more wearable. Now, as this one does dry down, I do find, like, into the dry down, this one it loses a lot of the smokiness. It still has a hint of it there, but it's not really a robust smokiness. It is just more of a light smokiness. The oud, Also very light. Like I said, I smell it a little bit in the opening. It has a bit of a light woodiness, but there is a lot more of that creaminess from the sandalwood and the amber. And I find that's, in fact, the dominant note throughout the fragrance, and definitely in the dry down, that's what you're going to get the most of. It does still have a little hint of smoke, a little hint of woodiness, but a lot of the other stuff is sort of faded away. Now, the one thing I'll say is that with that sort of gummy kind of sweetness that it has with that amber and the creamy sandalwood, I do actually find it sometimes to be a slight bit cloying, which is kind of surprising because this is not an overdose of sweetness. It's actually fairly mild. The thing is that it's just very thick. And so I do find that in some sense, especially once the smokiness tones down a little bit, it can be a little bit overwhelming. That being said, I actually like this one much more than the original, just because I find it's a lot more versatile. I wouldn't say this is the most versatile fragrance on the planet, but it's definitely a lot more versatile than the first one, like I said, which is just this gothic church kind of a vibe. And, I'm not really even sure when I would really pull that one out and call it appropriate. I've worn it at various times, but whether or not it's, really suits the occasion, that's a different question altogether. This one, I think it's going to be more mass appealing. It is still niche, it is still different, but it is definitely a lot easier to pull off than the original Interlude, in my opinion. More smooth, creamy, refined, and like I said, it does have a little bit more of that sweetness. Performance in this one is okay. I actually think that the original was a little bit more beastly. I do, of course, only have the dabber here, so I do find sometimes performance, you don't get the full effect. It has very nice sillage. The cloud is really good. The only thing I would say is that I don't know if the longevity is that great. I would give it the 8-hour plus, but it's not like I almost would have thought maybe this would be like a 16-hour fragrance or a 12 plus. At least for me, I didn't find that to be the case. 8 plus was what I got with this, but then again, like I said, dabbers can occasionally be deceiving when it comes to performance. That's one reason I don't really like them. But very nice sillage, very nice cloud, especially as you're moving around, as you're walking. This is one you can wear outside, especially in the chilled weather, and it's still gonna be smellable by people, so long as you don't only put on one spray. But in a lot of ways, I think that's kind of the best situation. Outdoors in the cool weather, definitely in my opinion, is the best. Now, with the original, I always felt like, honestly, it could almost be something you wear to a funeral because it is a little bit dark and smoky. I do have kind of a similar vibe. There is definitely in the opening of this. I feel like it lightens up a little bit in the dry down, but it does have a nice darkness in the opening, and this kind of suits a cold day at the cemetery, as strange as that sounds. Other than that, it's definitely a cold weather fragrance. Winter is the best. Obviously, you can wear this one indoors, but it is, I don't know if it would be an office fragrance per se. But like I said, it is a more refined, smoother, somewhat more versatile than the original fragrance. All in all, Amouage Interlude, man, 53. It is a nice one. If you like the original, you're probably going to like this one. If you found the original just a little too much, you might actually like this one a little bit better. As I mentioned, to my surprise, much easier to get along with. Anyways, that's it for the video, guys. Interlude 53 by Amouage. Nice release, nice fragrance. I do enjoy this one. I still think that for me, my favorite is going to be Enclave by Amouage, followed probably by Beach Hut Man. But to me, if I was going to buy one, Enclave is great. If you like the sort of sandalwood creaminess, I think Meander is also a really good one to check out. And that is sort of an aspect of this fragrance, as I mentioned. I just think you get, if that's what you really are looking for, Meander's probably a better choice for that facet, because it does it really, really nicely in the dry down without being ever too much or too cloying. And like I said, this one does sometimes come off as a little bit too thick. But anyways, guys, I'm going to end the video there. Leave a comment down below. What is your favorite amouage? And if you've tried all of the interludes, man, leave a comment down below. What is your favorite of the interludes? Let me know. And as always, don't forget to like and subscribe. And I'll see you guys in the next video.